As a graduate with a bachelor's degree in the Korean language, I have no idea what I'm doing. One can even say that this is a useless degree, but I don't know. Ever since I started going into college or any kind of school, I've always been fascinated in learning languages. I've actually learned Japanese, Chinese, Mandarin, mind you, and Korean. But then out of those three, I ended up choosing Korean because Hangul is a lot easier for me to read. I'm just too lazy with the Chinese characters, but I do want to learn those in the future. Anyways, so for this year, on the summer of 2025, I conducted a Korean summer course as my test run. And I had to do a bunch of setting up for that to happen. The student becomes the master kind of thing. Or at least she tries to. For one thing, I needed the confidence to actually get up and start being the mean teacher who looks over your shoulder every time to make sure you are— I'm just kidding. But yes, I hope I can at least motivate people. So there's that. Also, I say this in every video, or at least every long form video, that I am not a native speaker. So there are going to be times where I'm going to make mistakes or might not know something. Because I am from America. But I like to believe that I can at least teach you the basics of Korean. Look at some of my other videos if you are curious. I think I can understand where learners are coming from because I have learned from the beginning, from scratch, as a foreigner. I think. Advanced level is a big no-no for me, obviously, because I still struggle with those topics. This information is for your own discretion for if you're interested in learning Korean from me. If you want to greet yourself in Korean or want to know at least the basic ways to express yourself, then sure, I've got you. After gaining some confidence, I set up a website with my own brand for both my arts and games. And for what everyone is here for, the Korean language specialty. I set up a bunch of social media accounts, created a Discord server, even created some advertisements, made the course on Canvas, which is a platform for learning, and boom, I made the class. Now what? One can say that I am very unprofessional with how I run things because I run classes through Discord. That's what I did for this test run. But like, I'm broke. Like, come on, I just got out of college. Most people at my age probably are in college debt. I'm lucky to not be in debt, but geez, I still do not want to put myself in debt and pay for whatever those Zoom subscriptions are just to host more than 1 hour meetings or whatever. I think Google Meets also does the same thing where if you need to host more than 1 hour long meetings or whatever. I know for those like services, those professional services, you would need to do a subscription, and I'm too broke for that. Especially when I'm just starting out. I don't even know if I will gain traction this way. But at the very least, with all that setting up and advertisements, you'd think I'd get a lot of people, or at least some people to join, right? Not really. There were probably like 8 or 10 people saying they wanted to take the class, but only 4 people actually attended. I'm trying not to be disheartened by the lack of audience, but I guess I can't really complain. At least I got somebody. I should be happy with that. Also, thanks to my friend for like joining in. So shout out to Dream Eater for like helping me test this. But with that being said, even if my class was very small, I think I learned a lot being able to teach something right now with enough strictness, but with interesting ways. The format goes like this. For a quarter, we'd have class for 2 hours on a specific day on the week for 3 months, which is basically like a quarter in terms of like academic school schedule, right? The homework, assignments, projects, or exams are all conducted on Canvas. Syllabus and important files like slides or recordings are also on Canvas as well. Students can see the grade they get on Canvas as the quarter goes on, and they'd also be able to see the deadlines of assignments on the right of the screen in the website version. You can actually see it here too on a mobile version. Trying to plan out the different due dates, class times, and when to make students take exams was also another thing I had to worry about. I think that's one thing I end up having to practice with this test run of a class, because if I can't get a good pacing in class, it will either be too difficult or too easy for students. Trying to find a balance of pace and strictness can be tricky, but I managed to set up dates ahead of time and made a table here. Once that was done, I put it in a syllabus and yeah, I just wing it and hope that things go out well. Totally not putting my students in a den of wolves.
Yeah, my test subjects.
Now for the big part. How the classes actually went? Well...
정말요? 한 말 해도 돼요?
The long form is Mizzy dot, because if I just put Miz, it gets a little confusing. So in this case, we have 가방이 있어요, because there is a bag right here. 지우개가 있어요.
네, 모자 있어요.
모자, 모자.
모자가 있어요.
Yes. 모자가 있어요. There are definitely a lot of times where I stutter a lot, which I think is natural since this is the very first time I've conducted a class, like at all. I'll be opening up classes for other levels in Korean in the year 2026, but that very first class I conducted here in 2025 in the summer was a big slap on the face to tell me I suck at keeping it together in the spotlight, and I don't even show my face. Yeah, I don't really require cameras in this class. There's like, I don't know, like, I don't really feel like being that teacher who would want to have that as a requirement. Like, come on, I'm sure we all want to be in the comforts of our own homes anyways. Like, I'm too lazy for that. That's also another thing, I'm just too lazy. Eventually I got through it. The students started off with learning Hangul, which is the Korean alphabet, and slowly worked their way up to learning the language by learning how to read, create their own sentences, introducing themselves, expressing what they have and what they are, how to request for things, and etc, etc. It went from... because this is the first part. Yes.
I thought dog is... I thought that was like dog is, and then it was like how you write it.
Tog. In Korean pronunciation is tog. I know it looks like dog, but it's not dog. To this.
Sure, I can try.
Okay, you guys can do it.
안녕하세요. 저는 미주입니다. 만나서 반갑습니다.
안녕하세요. 미철씨. 어느 나라 사람입니다. 사람입니다. Sorry. Oh, my bad.
Okay. No worries.
사람입니까?
나는 초콜릿을 먹을래?
네, 좋아요.
저 가게에 있어?
Now, obviously, since they are new in learning Korean and don't have a lot of experience in it, it's not going to be perfect. But that's not what we're looking for. Nobody's going to be perfect in the very beginning of the course, especially in year 1. What I'm looking for specifically is improvement. In the beginning, you can see that they are trying to rely on romanization, which is, if you're not familiar with romanization, romanization is the use of English letters to try and make them sound like Korean letters. But they're not going to be like 100% exact because there are some things in the Korean alphabet that has certain sounds that English doesn't. At this point in the stage, these guys can read just fine, although slow. The good part here is that I was able to teach them how to read in Hangul. That is a big step in learning Korean because that is the foundation right there. If they can keep reading Hangul somewhere else, then that means more learning for them. They have like the big push to send them out to learn other parts such as grammar or maybe like vocabulary. And they'll get more practice in reading Korean as time goes on. For only learning Korean for 3 months, these guys were very good students. Something I realize for the future, if I ever get that far with... But I think this is where creating genuine relationships with students is important, which is why I try to make it as unprofessional as it is, while also maintaining a good amount of strictness. What is that good balance? I don't know what the good balance is here, but I think trying to learn what kind of style that they have in terms of learning or what kind of personality they have helps me gauge what works for them and what doesn't. Which is kind of terrible for me because I'm actually really shy, but hey, for the future students who are too shy as well, we can be shy together. Yeah, hooray for social anxiety. Speaking of social anxiety, Fun fact, for when I was actually interning as a Korean tutor for the lower classmen, I was about like 4 years, like a senior in my college while this happened. So I have no idea who this lower classman is. I just know that he is learning Korean and that's it. So then while I was like tutoring him, I really wasn't sure what his style of learning is. So it took me a while to figure out, poke and prod, what his learning goals are. And I just was so nervous that I ended up saying the S word. This isn't like word for word because I don't remember how the conversation exactly went, but it went along the lines of this. Like, hahaha, 안녕하세요, opa. I'm just kidding. I didn't do that to any of the students, obviously. For real though, I was like, yeah, 안녕하세요. Oh, you guys are learning Korean. You're still new. You know how to conjugate. And they're like, no. And then without thinking, I was like, oh, okay, then we will do this instead. Wait, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Wait, cut that out. Yeah, that's, I don't normally swear, but for some reason that one time I did. That memory lives rent-free in my brain. I'm pretty sure that that guy that I was tutoring probably thought that I wasn't taking things seriously. Another difficult thing is gauging a person's knowledge through grades and trying to cater to every goal. By goals, I mean speaking, listening, writing, and reading. I feel like I'm forgetting something else. Comprehension, probably. There's probably many more, but even though I use a grading system in Canvas, I'm also a believer that grades don't reflect how much a person knows in a language. It may give an idea about if a person is doing well in a subject or not, but I don't think it represents 100% of what they know. Now, don't get me wrong, I had really good grades in school, really good grades in college, and even good grades when I was studying in Korea for about a year. But most of the things that I learned over there were more of, well, I think as most things are, textbook based, which is what my class will be. But there were some other hobbies I would get into, which is kind of inevitable, right? Because I am learning the language. I would probably need to immerse myself in the culture or whatnot, and of course the fandom screaming about, oh, like, oh wow, K-pop and all that, ooh, need to see this K-drama. Of course I would look into that. I would also like read some webtoons on the side, and then read some, actually I should probably stop right there. Even playing video games was my other way of learning the language back then. It's things like those that are outside of the class time that kind of makes up with a whole person's knowledge of the language, not just in the classroom, which is what makes like gauging a person's knowledge so difficult, because there's only so many different topics you can go into. Like, you can talk about like a hospital, you can talk about hobbies, you can probably know how to talk about hobbies, but then let's say for example you don't have the vocabulary for talking about the bank or all that jargon, I should say. There's a lot of different jargon that goes with different like subjects. And it's like, well shoot, if I don't even know what this is in English, how am I supposed to know it in Korean? That's especially one very, very difficult thing when it comes to teaching the language too, because you have to choose which ones are probably the most common ones. And don't even get me started on how many different ways you can say the exact same things. Like, maybe one person knows how to say this particular thing one way, but then not the other. How do you gauge that in normal daily conversation about a person's knowledge? Because in most situations, as long as you convey your thoughts, that's probably enough for a conversation. I remember that feeling that distributing these things in class were another challenge when it came to conducting a class, but I tried not to stress too much about it and just figured that students are just going to like certain parts of the class, and also won't like certain parts. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, despite myself believing this, I'd still have to stick to the grading system. At the very least, I have a median to measure if a person is doing well or not, even if it isn't 100%. I mean, if any experienced teachers know some techniques and tricks to better cope or deal with these situations, please let me know too. As much as I am a tutor, I still would like to consider myself as a student forever. That way I can keep growing, and if I grow into a better skilled person, then hopefully it benefits others. I hope me talking about this gives some inspiration for other upcoming teachers as well. And if not, I at least hope I can convince people to take my classes. I need more test subjects, please. I'm working hard to make sure I can give others the opportunity to learn the beautiful language and culture of Korea so that we can be KOREABOOS, so that we can respect the culture better and understand it. Yes. That is totally what this class is for. 안녕하세요. 저를 모르시는 분들이 계시면 저는 미즈라고 합니다. 유창하게 한국어를 아직 잘 못해서 간단한 한국어만 가르칠 수 있어요. 혹시나 기본적인 한국어를 배우고 싶으시면 제가 가르쳐 드릴게요. 다음에 또 봐요.